You have decided to dispose of your second-hand car. Unfortunately, it has failed its inspection and will require $100 of repairs to obtain a pink slip. On the other hand, a wrecker has offered you $50 for the car as it is. You have little idea what the market is like for your type of car. If the market is strong, then with a pink slip, you can sell it for $250. If the market is only moderate, you will only get $150, and if weak, $80. Without a pink slip, you could still sell the car, but you would only get $120 in a strong market, $80 in a moderate market, and $50 in a weak market. If you do decide to sell your car, then you will incur a $10 advertising cost. Firstly, identify the 3 possible strategies and construct the payoff matrix. Then you need to determine what decision would you adopt. Firstly, using Maximin, then using Maximax, and finally, if you wish to minimize your regret. Now, suppose the probability of a strong, moderate and weak market are given by 0.3, 0.3 and 0.4 respectively. In this case, which decision maximizes your expected value? The first thing that we need to do when we make our payoff matrix is to work out what are our decision alternatives and what are our states of nature that we need to be concerned about. Now, in terms of the decision alternatives, we said that we could decide to get a pink slip or we could decide not to get a pink slip. So we could get a pink slip or we could decide to sell it without a pink slip. There was another alternative we considered, and that was selling it directly to a wrecker without advertising it for sale at all. Now, in terms of these decision alternatives, what are the states of nature that matter? Well, with the wrecker, there's no state of nature that matters. We're going to get the same amount of money no matter what. But if we try to sell it with or without a pink slip, what matters is how strong the market demand will be. So we said that we're categorizing it as strong, moderate, or weak. So now we need to work out what are the payoffs for each of these states of nature. Well, we said if we sold it with a pink slip in a strong market, that we would get $250. However, we had to pay $100 to get the repairs and another $10 to get the advertising. So we had $250 minus $100 minus $10, which gives us $140 as our final profit. With a moderate market, instead of making $250, we're only going to make $150. However, we still need to pay $100 for the repair and $10 for the advertising. So this will give us $40. If it's a weak market, we said we were going to get $80 minus our $100 minus our $10 gives us minus $30. We don't like this option. On the other hand, if we don't get a pink slip, we don't have to pay for the repairs, but we won't get as much money. So what we'll get will be $120 minus the $10, which gives us $110. If it's a moderate market, it's going to be $80 that we get paid minus the $10, which gives us $70. If it's a weak market, then what happens is we will get paid $50 minus the 10 for advertising, and so our final payment will be $40. On the other hand, the wrecker told us that they were going to pay $50. So that one's really straightforward. Each state of nature simply gives us $50. Now we need to look at the different criteria we have. The first criteria was Maximax, in which case we're going to look at each alternative and work out what's the best thing we can get for Maximax. Well, if we use this pink slip, $140 is the best in a strong market, $40 not as good, losing $30 not as good. So it's going to be pink slip gives us 140. The best option for no pink slip, we've got 110 or 70 or 40. The best one is 110. So no pink slip is going to be 110. And the wrecker, 50, 50 or 50, best one's 50. Therefore, pink slip is the best one. So sell with pink slip. For Maximin, we need to work out the worst thing that can happen. So for pink slip, the worst thing that can happen out of 140, 40 or minus 30 is the minus 30. For no pink slip, the worst thing that can happen is 110 or 70 or 40. So therefore we'll go for 40. And for the wrecker, once again, it's all the same. So therefore it's 50. So therefore, based on Maximin, since our best option is the wrecker, therefore we will sell to wrecker. And we won't waste our time with repairs or advertising. Okay, the next one we have to worry about is our Minimax Regret. Now, to work out our Minimax Regret, we need to work out our opportunity loss table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the opportunity loss values in orange. So first of all, we're going to look at the strong market. And the first question is, given a strong market, what's the best thing that can happen? The best thing that can happen is we sell with a pink slip, because in that circumstance, we've got an opportunity loss of 0 because we get the maximum payment. On the other hand, if we sell it with no pink slip, we'll only get 110, so we'll miss out on $30 compared to what we could have had. Finally, if we sold it to the wrecker, well, we'll get $50 instead of 140, so we'll have a regret of 90. Now we'll look at the moderate case. So in this case, the best thing that can happen is selling it with no pink slip, which gives us 70. So that one gives us no regret. Now if we look at the pink slip case, we get $40 when we could have had $70 if we made a different decision. So we have a regret of 30. Now when we look down here for the wrecker, we get $50, but we could have had $70. So in this case, we have a regret of 20. Now coming over to the weak case, the best thing we can get is the $50 from the wrecker. So that's the one that gives us no regret. If we end up out of pocket by $30, we'll have a regret of $80 because we could have had $50 by just selling it to the wrecker. On the other hand, if we sold it with no pink slip, we get $40, which is $10 less than the $50 we get from the wrecker. So we'll have $10 of regret. Now, to work out our Minimax Regret, we look at each decision alternative and we work out of the maximum, which one is the maximum. So, for pink slip, the biggest regret we could have is if it turns out to be a weak market, in which case we've got a regret of 80. If we decide to sell it with no pink slip, the biggest regret we can have is 30, which is bigger than 0, and 10, which means it's a strong market, because in that case we're wishing we had have used a pink slip. So our regret is 30. And for the case of using the wrecker, the largest regret we'll have is in the case of a strong market, whereas if we had have sold it for a pink slip, we would have got 140, but we're only getting 50, so we have a regret of 90. So now we compare these three numbers, the 80, the 30, and the 90, and we want to minimize our regret. So therefore, we sell it without a pink slip. Okay, the last thing we're interested in is what's the expected monetary value. Now in this case, we need to take our probabilities and multiply our payoffs by those probabilities. So if you recall, we said that the probabilities of the states of nature are going to be, for strong, 0.3, for moderate, 0.3, and for weak, 0.4. So now we need to calculate for each different one the value of the payoff multiplied by the probability and add them up for each payoff. So for pink slip, we'll get 140 times 0.3 plus 40 times 0.3 plus 30, but it's minus 30 times 0.4. And this gives us 42. For no pink slip, instead of 140, we're going to use the 110. So it'll be 110 times 0.3 plus 70 times 0.3 plus 40 times 0.4. Which gives us 70. Now for the wrecker, well, we could say 50 times 0.3 plus 50 times 0.3 plus 50 times 0.4, but I think you know the answer is 50. So now we're choosing between 42, 70 or 50. Therefore, we'll take the 70. So therefore, sell without pink slip.